You want the dream, but you have to realize there is a sacrifice for that.
Liam Payne's death at the age of 31 sent shockwaves through the music world and beyond. The singer spent more than half of his life in the public eye after auditioning for the X Factor as a teenager. Liam grew up in the spotlight and faced many successes on his journey, as well as many challenges, and had spoken about his struggles with substance abuse, relationships, mental health, and global fame. Access Hollywood is looking back at just some of the many things Liam shared about the peaks and valleys that came with his experience as a public figure. It all began in 2008 when Liam auditioned for the X Factor. Though he didn't make it to the live shows, he shot to fame within his hometown of Wolverhampton, as he later recalled on the Diary of a CEO podcast.
I wasn't world famous when I was 14, but I was famous within my world.
As he continued his life at home after, not all the attention was positive.
Someone on the stairs goes, "X Factor reject!" and the whole restaurant looks at me. Right, I'm 15 years old. And it was just horrible. It was almost like a shout out to say, "Oh, you think you're special, but you're still here."
Liam ultimately decided to return to the X Factor for another shot, and it was that season that everything changed. Liam was put together with fellow contestants Harry Styles, Zayn Malik, Niall Horan, and Louis Tomlinson to form the boy band One Direction. But, as Liam later shared on the Impulsive podcast, he took a minute to officially say yes.
I was like, "Can I have 5 minutes to decide?" This was just before One Direction was made. So I went out and I called my dad. I was like, "Dad," I was like, "this is weird. I know I just told you I'm out, but they want to put me in a boy band. Like, what do you think about it?" He said, "Well, you can either be 100% of nothing or 1/5 of something." And I thought, very clever, Jeffrey.
On Capitol Breakfast, Liam once reflected on how when he first met his bandmates, he quickly realized how energetic they were, while he was more serious, and allowed him to loosen up a bit.
It was really a crazy, crazy time and a lot to get used to. And for my head, at least, I was a bit too grown up in that sense. I needed to kind of grow down and just have a little bit of fun, because that's what it was all about. And in the end, that's what everybody, tied in with the band. It was more about this freedom and having fun and like, what would you do if you were in this position, sort of thing.
In the concert film One Direction, This Is Us, the guys all joked about Liam's stern side.
I took it so seriously.
We were two completely different characters.
But whenever I wanted to do anything like slightly mischievous, he was always the daddy.
Sing every first line from the second jet. She's not afraid, but we need to figure out something different.
Only thing I've said to them to add to the sheet is for the man lifts.
That's why I got the name as Daddy Direction.
The boys bonded as they made hit record after hit record and traveled across the world, having lots of fun and even getting tattoos together.
All of us except for Niall have got these on our ankles. Just crosses, I don't know what it means, it's just the screws that keep you together. I suppose it's like a keep you grounded thing.
As the fan base grew exponentially, so did the crowds.
We don't come out that often, so we don't really see this sort of side of it that often, so when we do, it's all a bit strange.
Years later, Liam reflected on how while they were touring, there was a lot of staying inside, and that's where his turn toward drinking began.
When we were in the band, the best way to secure us, because of how big it got, was just lock us in our rooms. And of course, what's in the room? Minibar. So at a certain point, I thought, well, I'm going to have a party for one. And that just seemed to carry on throughout many years of my life. And then you look back, how long you've been drinking and stuff, where you're like, Jesus Christ, that's a long time. Even for someone who's, as young as I was.
Liam also experienced some tense moments with his bandmates during their rise. He later recalled that one disagreement became a physical altercation.
There was one moment where there was an argument backstage and one member in particular threw me up a wall. So I said to him, if you don't remove those hands, there's a high likelihood you'll never use them again.
Through the tough moments, the band cemented a brotherhood. In their concert film, they spoke about how these times performing together were the best of their lives.
I think when we look back at this, no matter what we do after this, we'll never, ever beat this.
But isn't that scary? The best times of your life are now,
Don't you think it's a bit
crazy.
of like a Benjamin Button thing, though, that we get to do it backwards? Do you know what I mean? We get to go after this and then have a proper normal life, just have a wife and kids, and do you know what I mean? I think that's quite nice. That's what I look forward to if I look forward to anything.
The dream of fatherhood wasn't far away. After the band went on an indefinite hiatus in 2016, Liam sparked a relationship with Cheryl, who he first met when she was a judge on the X Factor.
It's the weirdest How I Met Your Mother story ever, because, as she was the judge on the show, I had a hole in my shoe at the time. Fantastic time in life.
The following year, the two welcomed a child together, a son named Bear. After the birth, he told James Corden how Bear's name was inspired by his coos as a baby.
He was going, away, and when he was sleeping. I had 10 doctors come in the room, and in the end the guy was just like, dude, I'm not being funny. There's nothing wrong with him. He just likes to make a lot of noise. And that's carried on ever since, so it just became Bear. There he is. And now it's like children live out their name, you know what I mean? And he's humongous.
Years later, Liam shared a letter he wrote to his younger self for BBC Radio 2, where he reflected on his transition from the band to fatherhood.
You'll have the most amazing time of your life, travel the world, and live a life you barely imagined. Then it will end for a while and you will be left with nothing but the steering wheel. It will feel scary, like you're alone, but you are not. You're about to start a total new journey with the most amazing person you've met so far, your son, Bear. Don't doubt yourself at this dad thing. Just look at all the things you've learned along the way. Surely that must mean you have a lot to give.
In the summer of 2018, Liam announced that he and Cheryl had split after 2 years together, writing in part, "It's been a tough decision for us to make. We still have so much love for each other as a family," adding that Bear was their world. He later spoke about their co-parenting dynamic and gushed over Cheryl as a mother.
She's the best mom in the world. I couldn't ask for someone better. You know, the relationship we have with each other now as friends has only grown more since, you know, everything happened. We broke up for a reason that we broke up, and now, you know, she gives me full autonomy of my own life to be able to go and do what I do, and at the same time I know he's being taken care of because he's all she cares about, and that's, you know, you couldn't ask for more.
In 2019, Liam took part in an interview with GQ Hype, where he opened up about finding his path post-1D, sharing in part, "I think the biggest question for all of us at the start was figuring out who the hell we were without each other around, which is a really weird thing, because you'd found your dynamic and role within the band. But then when you started a solo thing, it was almost like leaving school or university and trying to find your place within the real world." Liam revealed that he began therapy a few years after the band broke up and spoke about his mental health and drinking. He shared, "I was drinking too much and getting into really bad situations for quite some time actually, and I hit a peak moment where I knew the drinking was going to get me. I needed to do something about it. I spent a lot of time drinking to escape the crazy world that I had created for myself. I didn't know what I was doing. That first therapy session and being like, I don't even know what I like or anything about myself. It was pretty scary stuff. I was afraid of how far my career was going and that it might go even further." Later that year, in 2019, Liam found love again with Maya Henry. The two made their debut as a couple and got engaged the following year, which he confirmed on Good Morning America.
Congratulations, my man. How's that feeling these days?
Thank you. Yeah, we're just really happy. I mean, the last week I've just had a birthday. My son has gone to school for the first time today. So it seems like a lot of firsts for me, really, actually, which is great.
However, in 2021, Liam announced that he and Maya had ended their engagement, and he reflected on where things went wrong.
I'm more disappointed in myself for the keep on hurting people. That annoys me. I've just not been very good at relationships, and I know what my pattern of things is with relationships. I feel at this point, I'm just not very good at them, so I just need to like work on myself first before I put myself onto somebody else. And I feel that's what, you know, that's where I got to in my last relationship. I just wasn't given a very good version of me anymore that I didn't appreciate and I didn't like being.
In the same interview, Liam also got candid about struggles with alcoholism, saying he had been sober for a month. He also discussed suicidal ideation and said that after a while of feeling pushed into therapy by others, he was finally embracing it himself, which was leading to personal breakthroughs. He also reflected on the struggles he had faced in his transition away from the peak of fame in 1D and navigating his next chapter.
I suppose one of the reasons I struggled the most out of it is because you're never really going to reach that height again, and then it's almost like limbo. And also not knowing whether or not we're going to come back. Are we going to come back? Everyone's asking, and it feels like pressure to come back. So having to deal with that at a young age, I was always going to mess it up somewhere, is what I would say about myself. You know, the day the band ended, I was like, thank Lord for that. And I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me for saying that, but I needed to stop or it would kill me. And I was like, thank the Lord.
Later in 2021, Liam got back together with his ex-fiancée Maya, but the following spring, they broke up again. That year, Liam made waves when he appeared on the Impulsive podcast and made some pointed comments about One Direction and toward his former bandmate Zayn, saying that Zayn's then-girlfriend Gigi Hadid's tweet about him being a, quote, respectful king hadn't aged well. He also said this about their complicated relationship.
There's many reasons why I dislike Zayn, and there's many reasons why I'll always be on his side. If I had to go through what he went through his growth and whatever else, you know, your parents are very supportive.
Very.
My parents are overly supportive to the point where it's annoying at times, and they don't even mind me saying that. And Zayn had a different upbringing in that sense.
After the podcast, Liam clarified his comments, saying he didn't articulate himself as well as he could have, and emphasizing that he'll always be on Zayn's side, despite any disagreements. In a YouTube video the next year, he further apologized for his comments and reflected on the headspace he was in at the time he made them.
I think for me, a lot of what I just said just came from the wrong place. I was so angry at what was going on around me, and instead of taking a look inwards, I decided to look outwards at everybody else. And I just think, I just took it out on everybody else, which is just wrong, really. And my own frustrations with my own career and where I kind of landed, I took shots at everybody else, which is wrong. So obviously, I want to apologise for that in the first instance, because that's definitely not me.
Liam revealed that in the year since the podcast came out, he stepped back to do some inner work. He He told fans that he hadn't picked up a drink in 6 months and had completed a 100-day stay in a treatment facility.
I was in bad shape up to that point, and I was really happy more than anything when I arrived to kind of put a stopper on life and work. I didn't have my phone for, nearly 100 days. I didn't connect with the outside world at all. And it was kind of prepping me for that moment. Upon leaving, actually, was the hardest point, was turning the phone back on, if I'm honest with you, because it was a little bit scary. But it was a nice world to come back out to. Ever since then, I've just kind of been trying to learn to get to know this new guy.
Liam said that he'd been enjoying time with his son after being back.
Honestly, more than anything, I want to say thank you to him and his mum for giving me a little bit of freedom to go and get well in that moment, because I had to. There's no point trying to be a dad when you've got nothing to teach, and I don't think up until this point I really had much to say to him other than just caring for him deeply and loving him very deeply, which obviously are the most important things.
Also by Liam's side was his girlfriend Kate Cassidy, who he began dating in 2022 and up through his untimely passing. Months before his eventual death, Maya, Liam's ex-fiancée, released the book Looking Forward. The book is fiction, but inspired by true events, she said. The story centers on a woman falling in love with a, quote, former boy bander, despite fame, attention, and personal demons that threaten them both. In an interview on the Internet is Dead podcast months after the book's release, she claimed that Liam had been sending her messages after their split about death.
He would always message me ever since we broke up, like, oh, I'm not well. He would always play with death and be like, well, I'm gonna die. I'm not doing well. And there was one time I tried to get him help, and then he was like not taking it. He would text my mom, I'm not doing well, have Maya contact me, because I wouldn't respond. And it's just always the same cycle. And every time that, like, for example, when I announced my book, he did the same thing. He called my mom, I think I'm not gonna be around much longer. And
oh my God.
And I don't play with death. So I'm like, if you say this, I'm gonna try and help you no matter what you've done. And I think he took advantage of my family's kindness. And I was like, if you want to go back to rehab, I'll help you, even though, whatever. And not that I ever wanted to be back with him, but he's still somebody's child. He's somebody's brother. Like, if that were my brother, I would want someone to help him too.
In the last weeks of his life, Liam was in Argentina with Kate, where they saw Niall perform in concert. Kate shared a TikTok video leaving South America on October 14th. 2 days later, it was revealed that Liam had tragically died upon falling from a hotel balcony in Argentina. A preliminary autopsy determined that he had died of multiple trauma and internal and external bleeding as a result of his fall. It also noted that authorities had seized substances from his room and interviewed 5 witnesses, all of whom had left the hotel before his death. Though the report's findings indicate that he was alone and appeared to suffer a substance abuse-related breakdown, the prosecutor's office is still investigating the incident as a doubtful death as a matter of protocol. Among the outpouring of people who shared condolences and memories of Liam in the wake of his passing were his former One Direction bandmates, who said in a joint statement that they were completely devastated by the news. They wrote in part, "For now, we will take some time to grieve and process the loss of our brother, who we loved dearly. The memories we shared with him will be treasured forever. For now, our thoughts are with his family, his friends, and the fans who loved him alongside us. We love you, Liam."